Match number 2 of STARRCADE 1997. It's the NWO of Scott Norton, Vincent, and who else?
It was Randy Savage.
Oh,
Randy
yes,
Savage
that's right. He's a surprise, isn't he? That's why I left it off the little bit there. Taking on the WCW Tag Team Champions, the Steiners, and Ray Traylor, formerly the Big Boss Man, with Ted DiBiase as their manager.
The name Ray Traylor did not ring any bells for me. So I was like, I looked at it, I was like, oh shit, it's Big Boss Man.
It is. And he had originally come to WCW about 95, and they'd given him the gimmick of the boss. And WWF were like, absolutely no way. So he'd had some sort of diminishing returns attempt at being a policeman. He'd been the guardian angel and stuff like that. And in this, they're like, do you know what? I think he's a big enough star that we can just call him Ray Traylor.
Ray Traylor, yeah.
Wrong. Absolute disaster. It's not even Big Bubba here. Again, we're really sort of like, this is falling off the rails. So Dave Pencer, the announcer, announces that Conan will be joining them, and they know Conan isn't there. He had rung up and said, I will not be at the match. His girlfriend had given birth to a premature baby who was stillborn, and that left them obviously with a hole in this 6-man tag match. The company decided Randy Savage should fill that spot. They booked STARRCADE, and they thought to themselves,
stick him in there.
Yeah,
stick Randy Savage in there.
He'd be a good sub. Don't give him a match, old Randy Savage. So they said to him, look, we'd like you to do this 6-man tag match. Absolutely. He's fine. They told him that a few hours before the show went on, and that gave Randy Savage all the power in the world. So Savage said the original idea was that the Steiners and Ray Traylor would win this. They were the WCW Tag Team Champions. This night is supposed to be about WCW getting its revenge on the NWO. And Savage said, absolutely not going to work for me, that. So he got them to agree to change the finish. And they said, so you'll do your Savage elbow on Ray Traylor. And he went, no. No, he said, I don't think Ray Traylor is a big enough star for me to pin. And they agreed that he would be allowed to pin Scott Steiner. Right. They told Scott Steiner this. Scott Steiner was furious. He got into a verbal confrontation with the booker Terry Taylor backstage that got very, very heated. And they compromised by saying, Scott, you'll get to do loads of big moves on everybody before you take the Savage elbow.
Such a weird horse trading,
and
isn't it?
Scott Steiner was like, oh yeah, fine, but I'm still really unhappy. At this, everyone is going to be unhappy by the end of this pay-per-view. That's what's magic about it. As he comes down to the ring, Savage spots Rey Mysterio, one of the WCW wrestlers, watching. But around this time, Tony Schiavone does mention, he says, oh, they've all come down, they want to see this show. And the way of selling it to sort of go, this show is so big that even wrestlers...
The stars want to see the stars, yeah.
But it sort of suggests normally they don't want to see wrestling. They've got the option, and they're very much like, not for me.
Oh, they took all our location this time.
Yes, there's a bit as well later on where Schiavone again sort of says, oh, they actually paid for their own seats to get here. They paid their own way here tonight. And I was thinking, you watch that back, if you were Greg Valentine in the hotel and you go, they fucking got me.
Got me again. They tricked me.
They fucking got me.
I remember, not Maven. Who's the guy who does the YouTube now? Not Maven. Is it Maven?
Yeah.
Yeah, Maven. Yeah. Inexplicably, his real name.
Yes, Maven Huffman.
Maven Huffman. Beautiful man. He was talking about how, like, getting comps, complimentary tickets, how to do it and stuff back in WWE time. And he was basically saying that, like, one time, for some reason, he sort of came with a lot of, like, babes. He went, I brought some babes with me. And the booker went, oh, brilliant. It's like, you're not going to get to see the babes. You've got things to do.
Babes do always get into stuff.
I know.
Babes
if you
get
bring
into
up babes,
things.
we didn't need to buy those tickets. You just got some babes.
Just babes. Hey,
On
WWE
roller
PR.
skates.
You know,
Roller
just
skates
sending a
and bras.
photograph of you with some babes. Just go, can we have 2 tickets to Money in the Bank? You know.
Literally DDP's entire career.
Yes, it is.
Babes.
Savage, as he comes down, he spots Rey Mysterio in the crowd and this starts sort of like jawing off at him. And I looked at it and I was like, well, you know, this is bad for a couple of reasons. One is because it's like your match doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're just sort of like, I'll play with this dude. You know, you're not sort of going, I've got to face the Steiners.
Yeah.
You know, no one in this, at this period, everyone's forgotten to look like they're worried about their match.
Yeah.
They're just like, the match is not real and neither is this, and so nothing matters. And it does become that sort of thing of going, I'm losing the ability to connect with matches where I don't know who's good and who's bad.
Yeah.
And no one cares
This is
about
entertainment.
This.
I just heard a podcast.
Savage, you know, is entirely wasted in a 6-man match, although he is pretty much the best thing in it. Yeah, I mean, here's Vincent, the former Virgil. But it's so long since I feel like we've seen Virgil actually performing in a ring.
I can't remember, to be honest.
It's probably like like WrestleMania 7, I think last time we saw him. You just forget that he was a sort of wrestler for a lot of his career because you're just used to seeing him like on Twitter being sort of randy and weird or at conventions looking like a ghost, you know. Really strange. It's very funny watching in 1997 Virgil versus the Big Boss Man, effectively. But at a point where the things that were good about them, i.e. gimmicks and presentation, they've all just been stripped away. Neither of them are wearing proper wrestling outfits. They're just sort of in outdoor clothes. You know,
that is the very definition of what they're wearing, outdoor clothes.
Yeah, Steiners are in white as well, which is an ironic sort of, oh, we're the good guys and pure of heart, and then you're just like, you're just two really mean old bullies, you know. And then you're wearing white, and that thing about going, look at us, aren't we angels? Yeah. It's just like, you're really hurting my jaw.
You do so much horror.
Well, Vincent gets a proper monstering in this. Takes a DDT off the top rope. Scott Norton then saves him from the pin. At which point, Scott Steiner does a Frankensteiner on Virgil off the top rope, at which point Randy Savage breaks up the pin. And I was sort of thinking, if you were Vincent, you'd be lying on that floor just going, is this a rib? I'm taking horrible, dangerous, high-risk moves, and they keep on breaking up the pin. There's a really good end, which is Scott Norton does a electric chair, and that puts him in the sight for Randy Savage to do the Savage Elbow. And the Savage Elbow, I do think, you know, the more I see it, the more I think it's probably the best wrestling move of all time. I mean, I just love watching Savage do it, really bouncing into someone's chest with his arms. They show the replay, and the referee walks in front of most of it. And I thought to myself, I feel like the Taliban sort of destroying art. I just wanted to see that really nice and slow.
Are you still wondering about whether to join the WrestleMe Patreon?
Patreon.com/WrestleMe.
Well, don't. We've got so many thousands of happy customers, including Kendo Nagasaki. Kendo?
Now, a certain program called Wrestle Me, they sort of take the mickey out of it, and they go along with the idea that it was right at the end of wrestling coming off television, and it may have had something to do with it. But I can tell the Wrestle Me lads, if they are in any doubt, I'm available. Either in the wrestling ring or out of it. Bring it on. Kendo's waiting.
Be as happy as Kendo is by coming over to WrestleMe's Patreon.
I don't think that was complimentary, Mark.
I think he's furious. WrestleMe Kendo!
There's lots of giggles in it, lots of laughs and heartiness, you know, that sort of thing.
Match number 3, Bill Goldberg. Very much on the Bill Goldberg here, versus Steve Mongo McMichael. And this is the pay-per-view debut of Bill Goldberg.
Right, okay. A very dangerous wrestler versus a green one.
Yes. I mean,
and also a green one, both green as well.
That works absolutely turning it around, doesn't it? Goldberg comes out.
They could have ended each other in this ring.
Completely. To book the two of them together as well, it's a really bad thing. You're debuting Goldberg, and at this point they are running the undefeated streak thing, but it's not really on fire, because you can see when he comes out to one of the smallest responses you'll ever see Goldberg come out to.
Which is weird to see, isn't it?
Really
because
weird.
He looks exactly the same with Taker, and you know, when he's with Mean Mark and stuff, you sort of go, well, you don't look the same.
Yeah.
But Goldberg looks like Goldberg.
Exactly the same. And when he comes out, I mean, you want to see him do the thing that you remember him doing. And you don't remember him like having these sorts of matches. What you want to see him do is you want to see him squash someone really dominantly. Yeah. And everyone goes, oh my God, that guy was great. And instead what they do here is they kind of go, you got 8 minutes with a guy who is pretty much exactly the same height and width as you are. But here's the thing. When you do your big moves on him, he's not very bendy. No. And he doesn't react. So when you do your spear and stuff like that, he'll fall over like a tree, and it won't be explosive, and it won't be exciting. Again, all the people you could have booked Goldberg with, and they go for one who also the real mistake they made here is Mongo was a sort of crowd favourite. He'd been in the Four Horsemen earlier in the year. People knew him from the NFL. He was one of those guys that, you know, people didn't really boo Mongo McMichael. I don't think they were keen to see him wrestle, but they liked him personally.
Having a go. It's good to see him having a go.
Yeah, and what you've got here is you've got a Goldberg who, for the very first time and the only time in his career, they'd, in the weeks building up to this, positioned him slightly as a heel. Yeah. And they'd had him interfere in some of Mongo's matches and, you know, make him lose. And so when he comes out, they're like, don't really know who this guy is, seen him a few times. Is he the bad guy? Don't quite know. And so a lot of this, they do everything that almost derails what Goldberg becomes, which is undefeated, dominant, and just a kick-ass babyface. And instead, what you get is a long match with someone who doesn't really show off Goldberg's dominance in any meaningful way, with someone who nobody knows whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. And typical of WCW at this time, if they're going to get it wrong, it's going to go wrong on this show, and they're going to just not understand what they're doing. The moment that Mongo and Goldberg first begin whacking each other in the aisle, you sort of go, actually, this is boss. This is great. They're two tough old blokes, and they're smacking each other. But then this match just goes on and on and on and on. If Goldberg's spear isn't going to make this place pop, then something has gone really, really seriously badly wrong in the booking of this. Goldberg then sets up a table. I mean, it's the least Goldberg thing to do. And then he starts doing drop kicks. And it's, what? I don't know what I'm watching. What is this?
And Mongo, I presume it's a word, but he can't lift Goldberg because of his back.
No.
So I can watch that at home.
There's a bit as well where Mongo goes to the table, and it's the worst table thing in the world, where he's standing on the apron and Goldberg just hits him and he looks behind himself and then just falls down like a big plank. And the crowd sort of chant ECW, and it's the least ECW moment in history, really, watching these two rich former NFL players like lamely go through tables for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, Goldberg then pins him with a jackhammer. And what was really funny about this is I watched the Nitro that took place the night after STARRCADE, hoping for some explanations or an apology, which wasn't there.
A refund for the network.
The next night, you have him in the Georgia Dome, which is Goldberg's home sort of territory.
Okay.
And he steamrollered Glacier, who, again, big man, too big, shouldn't have done it. But the crowd go absolutely bananas. Glacier sells like a treat. It's quick. He shouts, "Who's next?" into the camera, and he looked like a fucking megastar. And he's sort of going, that's 24 hours later.
Yeah, because we just get snapshots, don't we? And we sort of go, this is going bad for Goldberg.
You do. And then the next night, you're like, oh no, that's the Goldberg I remember. Yeah. This is all being booked perfectly. Yeah. And it's just, it had to be the night that most people watched their show. They just had to get it all wrong. And the next night, you're like, oh God, fucking hell, Goldberg's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. This turns out to be an aberration. But of course, it would happen on their most successful show of all time.